Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of At the Coalface Live, your live stream every single Friday from 4 p.m. New Zealand time to about 4:30 p.m. So around 2 to 2:30 p.m. Australian time, and then whatever your local time zone is. And it's super exciting to be with you here today. I always love sort of doing a bit of a roundup, a bit of an encapsulation of the week's news in digital and e-commerce, because there's always so much that happens every single week. And I know that some of you think that maybe I'm covering all the news, and I'm actually not. I'm covering a tiny, tiny sliver of the news that I typically read and consume and report on and comment on during the week, and then also in my e-commerce newsletter, my premium newsletter at the Coalface Digest, and across all of my other social platforms that I typically try to put out comment on during the week. So this is usually just a recap of some of the stories that have stood out to me during the given week. And I try to just make sure that you're up to speed with those biggest happenings, those groundbreaking events that tend to happen in e-commerce over a given week. And I know it's 7 days between these live broadcasts, and a lot happens in 7 days. I know it sounds dramatic, but it is, especially in the era of COVID and post-COVID. I tell you, e-commerce has just got a massive, gigantic shot in the arm, which is probably less damaging to you than some of the other shots in the arm you could get related to COVID. But anyways, we'll leave that to the side for a moment. In any case, it's awesome to be with you again today, and I'll jump into the news of the week. And as per usual, I'll wait till the end. I'll jump back in at the end after I've talked about the news and my take and my thoughts on that. And I'll come back to your commentary, your questions, your Ask Me Anything questions that drop into the stream, and anything that you comment on these live streams in LinkedIn, in Facebook Live, and in YouTube Live will show up in my StreamYard stream. And so I'll be able to come back to those comments, come back to those questions, and give you my thoughts, my commentary, my thanks for joining me on a Friday and sharing your time with me. And hopefully you're finding, I totally appreciate and respect the fact that everybody's busy. Everybody has a life. Everybody has a lot going on, particularly if you work or play in digital. You are insanely busy at the moment. So I always appreciate any time that you choose to share with me, whether that be content on LinkedIn, content on my podcast, content in my newsletter, content on my live, any of my content channels that I work on, even TikTok now. I always appreciate the 30 seconds, the minute, the 5 minutes, the 10 minutes, the half an hour that you spend with me. Always appreciate it. And I always appreciate the feedback, the questions, the commentary, because my audience tends to be super smart, and they tend to ask super intelligent and timely questions about what's going on in the industry. So I always appreciate your time together. Again, thank you to Klarna for my nice insulated bourbon cup. Well, it's been adopted as my bourbon cup. So thank you very, very much, Klarna, again for that. Now we'll go ahead and we'll get into the news of the week. And again, I will come back to you guys at the end of the session to answer any questions you may have. Now, the first one is kind of a broad-ranging, it seems like a very, very simple piece of news, but it actually has broad-ranging impacts in the sense of how e-commerce is treated, particularly in North America, particularly by the major retailers, particularly by the major department stores, and how this is being handled by investors, how this is being handled by VC, and the pressure that a lot of retail businesses are getting by these VC investors, particularly in North America. And the news title is Jana Partners urges Macy's to separate e-commerce business as it snags stake in the retailer. And this is a report out of payments.com. Jana Partners has taken a stake in Macy's and is pushing the retailer to separate its $8 billion e-commerce business from its traditional bricks and mortar business, the Wall Street Journal reported on Thursday, October the 14th. Now, what's interesting about this is that for an omni-channel business like Macy's and some of the other, what has historically been known as the high-end retailers or the high-end department stores like Macy's, they're undergoing absolutely fundamental and structural changes as the entire industry, particularly around consumers and their expectations by consumers, changes very rapidly. And for these storied retailers, for these storied brands that have been around for 50, 100, 150, 200 years, this is a major, major disruption to their business. Now, what Jana has said is that they see Macy's e-commerce business as potentially worth a multiple of its $7 billion market valuation. Jana first alluded to its interest in Macy's at the 13D Monitor Active Pass Investor Summit in New York last week, without divulging it actually owns a stake in the retailer. So somewhat deceptive there from the sounds of it. They own a stake, and now they're coming out in the major media and putting pressure on the brand to spin off its e-commerce operations in the hopes of a quick profit. Now, that makes sense if you're an investor, but it doesn't necessarily make sense if you're Macy's, and it doesn't necessarily make sense if you're a customer of Macy's. Now, what's interesting about this is that Macy's, they called out the fact that Macy's operates 750 brick and mortar retail stores across North America, and it closed out fiscal 2021 with digital revenues that rose 21% for the 12 months that ended January 30th. And digital accounted for 44% of net sales. 25% of Macy's online orders were fulfilled in stores, which means obviously click and collect or ship from store. And in the last fiscal year, it included curbside pickup and same-day delivery. Now, what's interesting about this sort of commentary by a major investor in the business is that this is very similar to the news that we saw out of Saks Fifth Avenue splitting off their e-commerce operations back in March of this year. Hudson's Bay, which owns Saks Fifth Avenue, said back at that time it was splitting off the luxury retailer's e-commerce business into a separate entity. It had gotten $500 million worth of investment for the new Saks.com business, which it was intending to spin off, so pre-investment effectively. And that business was going to just be called Saks. And it got investments from venture capital firm Insight Partners that valued just the e-commerce business at $2 billion. Now, what they called out at that point is that represented a 30% premium to what Hudson's Bay, which owns Saks off Fifth, and the Canadian Hudson's Bay department store chain fetched when it went private a year earlier. And so that actually demonstrated the premium that investors were willing to pay for digital only or digital pure play businesses that were associated with these massive global historical legacy brands. So that is very, very interesting to watch Macy's be put under the same exact type of pressure that Saks was put under this same year. And what's interesting about this is that HBC, which was a massive investor in the spinoff of Saks.com from Saks Fifth Avenue, is that at the time HBC mentioned, and they commented in the major e-commerce press and media, and they said, quote unquote, "This transaction reinforces HBC's ability to unlock significant value within our company's assets," HBC Governor, Executive Chairman, and CEO Richard Baker said in a statement. So we see this almost forced unbundling. We see this forced separation of the channels of a given business, particularly where bricks and mortar is underperforming over a long period of time and e-commerce is overperforming over a long period of time. But my biggest concern, as somebody who actually cares about the customer experience, as somebody who's not invested in these businesses, someone who's a consultant to businesses of this type, is what happens to the customer experience. The customer, the end customer, your average customer that walks into a Saks Fifth Avenue store or shops on Saks.com or this venture-backed splitting out of Macy's, what are they going to call it? Are they going to call it Macy's, online, and are they going to call it Macy's retail? How are they going to split this out in a way that does not absolutely destroy the current omni-channel experience that these joined companies are trying to create? Now, this flies in the face. This absolutely shouts in the face of what we're trying to create down here in ANZ with most major retailers. What is that? Well, what that looks like is an absolutely indistinguishable brand experience between online and offline, and also all of the phygital experiences. So whether that be click and collect, whether that be using something like Browse to reserve in store and then go in and try on in store and have that concierge-like experience, or whether that means ship from store so that it can get to the consumer faster. In ANZ, almost every single retailer that I'm speaking to is trying to converge their online and offline experience as opposed to separating it out, spinning it off, and running it as a separate business entity. So it remains to be seen from my perspective. I haven't seen the latest financials from Saks since they've spun off the business, but I just cannot see a world in which online and offline are spun off and run as completely independent companies, completely independent businesses, completely independent balance sheets, completely independent GLs and reporting lines. I just cannot see an environment where this works for the end consumer. And I predict, and you heard it here first, I predict that these businesses and these retailers that see, that are recognizing this value for the VCs by spinning off these segments or business divisions, I see them rejoining the mothership, the parent company, whatever you want to call it. I see them rejoining the mothership within 5 years because I just cannot see these brands surviving in a standalone environment, whether it be bricks and mortar, whether it be online. Because remember, the retailer sees these as different brands, but the consumer sees them as the same brand. And if they get a different experience online versus off, I just cannot see these brands surviving in their current guise. So can be wrong. One man's opinion. I don't know. Let's just see how this plays out. But we're seeing these retail brands that are upmarket retail brands splitting off their online commerce programs and businesses into separate business units, business entities, and I just don't see this ending well for them or the customer. Now, the next piece of news, Shopify launches global ERP merchant program. Now, what's interesting about this is that Shopify is absolutely going for the throat of larger and larger and larger merchants. Now, when we look at their latest announcements around oxygen and hydrogen and their new headless approach to their platform, and when we look at announcements like this, when we look at announcements like their deep and abiding partnerships with preferred winners of specific app vendors, and when we look at their partnerships with the likes of Yotpo, and their cross-border partnerships with other cross-border partner programs, what we're seeing here is we're seeing a very, very clear message from Shopify. And that message is we are going to pick the winners. We are going to pick the partners that we will partner with to incorporate into our merchant ecosystem, which we own and which we want to have a direct control over. Now, what's interesting about this is that they have called out this partner program with ERP partners. Now, historically, the lower levels of Shopify, particularly the cheaper subscription tiers, those lower end, the Shopify Plus, the regular Shopify, basically any of the tiers that sit underneath Shopify Plus, those brands that commence their operations on those lower ends in the lower tiers of Shopify, 9 times out of 10, they don't even run an ERP platform. They might run a order management platform or an inventory management platform or the like, but they don't run these full-blown, heavy, omni-channel ERP platforms. Now, what's interesting about this is the choice of ERP platforms that they've chosen to do these integrations with. So this report comes out of payments.com, but I've seen this spread across Reuters and a whole bunch of online outlets talking about this new program where they've done these partnership deals with major ERP platform providers. So it says, through the program, merchants will have access to a suite of apps that are directly integrated with Shopify, removing the need to rely on third-party implementations to connect ERP resources to Shopify. Merchants can immediately connect their ERP solutions for NetSuite, Infor, Acumatica, and Brightpearl to their Shopify stores, and an integration with Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central will be available in early 2022. And just as a test, I went to the Shopify App Store. When I saw this news article and this news release come out, I was like, okay, they're saying it's available now. Well, actually, is it? So I went to the Shopify App Store, and true to form, absolutely, we look at Oracle, and they've released an integration, a native out-of-the-box plug-and-play integration with NetSuite to Shopify, as have all of these other major ERP vendors. So Shopify is making an absolutely concerted effort to move up market and work with these major ERP vendors who, in many cases, for the merchants that run these ERP platforms, they're using these ERP platforms as their CRM. They're using it as their ERP. They're using it as their PIM platform. They're using it to run all of their customer service and all of their sales channels and their financials. And as a result of these native out of the box connectors, it means that it is easier than ever before for these retailers that are running these ERP platforms to adopt Shopify as their e-commerce platform of choice. Very well played, very smartly played, Shopify. It means that they don't actually have to go out and build these integrations. They've partnered with the ERP providers of choice. They've nominated and picked the winners, 4, 5, 6 winners in the ERP space that they want to partner with long term. And they've said, hey, we're going to facilitate your build out of a connector with our platform to make it easier for our merchants to adopt us as a core channel within the ERP ecosystem. So very, very well played. Mark Bergen from Shopify, vice president of Shopify, said in a statement that the global ERP program demonstrates the company's dedication to supporting enterprise merchants. And at Shopify, we support businesses during all stages of their journeys, from first sale to full scale. Regardless of their size, maturity, or complexity, merchants can thrive and grow with confidence on Shopify. So yet again, we see Shopify throwing its massive e-commerce weight around by doing these preferential deals with e-commerce and ERP platforms of choice around the world. So congratulations, Shopify. Well played. Now, next piece of news. BigCommerce announces their new partner integration with Chargify to deliver subscription management services for U.S. merchants nationwide. And this is a news item out of Yahoo Finance, but again, it came out in Reuters and a whole bunch of other news platforms at the same time. Now, this new integration apparently helps B2B and or B2C merchants efficiently manage, track, and analyze all subscription activity from within their store through open source checkout. Now, for those that don't know what open source checkout is, it's a hybrid model. So BigCommerce, which I know very, very well, I'm a partner with BigCommerce. I've done many architectural solutions on the BigCommerce platform for many retailers, and they've got effectively 3 versions of their checkout. They've got effectively their stepped or their one-page checkout, which is a completely native SaaS checkout. They then have their checkout SDK, which allows partners and agencies to build out a pixel-perfect, completely custom React-based checkout, which is basically completely customized end-to-end, but still falls underneath of the PCI compliance of native BigCommerce. They also have this sort of third quasi-custom, quasi-native checkout called open source checkout. And obviously what BigCommerce has done is they've partnered with Chargify to build out Chargify's native subscription functionality inside the open source checkout, which means that the checkout is a native BigCommerce checkout that merchants can opt into and has these native integrations out of the box with various other third-party vendors like Chargify. This was announced October the 4th, so we're looking at, a couple weeks ago this was announced. And what's interesting about this is that Chargify specializes specifically in B2B subscription checkouts. So what this signals to me is that as BigCommerce moves up the e-commerce stack, and as they expand outside of that traditional B2C market, and as we know, BigCommerce has recently announced their B2B edition and their hardcore focus on really complex commerce environments like B2B and like D2C, this partnership makes absolute sense. So congratulations to BigCommerce and Chargify, and I wish you guys every success because this is an absolute no-brainer of a partnership. Now, next piece of news, VTEX partners with Stripe to enable payments for digital commerce merchants, and this came out of the papers, Paypers. This is a recent news announcement. Now, this may not seem like a big deal considering the fact that Stripe already has a deep integration and partnership with Shopify and BigCommerce and Magento and many other e-commerce platforms out there. However, they did not have a partnership with VTEX up until now. This announcement was made on the 5th of October, so 10 days ago. And this just simply makes a plug-and-play integration between VTEX merchants and the Stripe payment gateway plug-and-play available. Click it, turn it on, instantly works. So this goes a little bit beyond your typical integration, and it says that in the announcement, VTEX said that customers can take advantage of Stripe products, including the Radar fraud prevention tool, which uses machine learning and AI from data from millions of companies to detect and prevent fraud. It also aims to enable local and global businesses to adapt to market trends. And it is expected that this integration will add more payment methods over time to reach more locations as the cooperation continues to expand. So whilst this is focused on North America initially, and obviously credit card payments initially, Stripe offers things like Apple Pay, Google Pay, and many other walletized payment methods. And so by having this native integration, it makes it easier for VTEX merchants to extend all of these payment methods to their merchants. So congratulations, great deal, great partnership, no brainer once again. Now, next piece of news. Barbecues Galore unveils a new loyalty program. It ditches its spend and save approach, and this comes from Inside Retail Australia. And I've been following Barbecues Galore ever since my friend Angus McDonald, who's their CEO, he's been there, I think, for about a year now, since he took over the CEO role of the business. And he came out of other omni-channel roles in other businesses throughout Australia. He's very well known in the omni-channel space, and since he took over, they've revamped both their in-store experience. About a month ago, they launched and announced their new marketplace experience, and now they're launching their revamped loyalty program. Now, in and of itself, this doesn't sound that sexy, doesn't sound that amazing, but what it does tell me and what it reaffirms to me is that most major retail brands are moving away from spend, save, spend loyalty programs because it is so difficult in that environment to differentiate yourself from all the other retailers that take the exact same approach to their loyalty program. And what they're calling out specifically is that they're moving more towards a value add, more towards a Amazon-like approach where the loyalty program is much more orientated around how am I feeling like I'm more part of the Barbecues Galore team, as opposed to, hey, I spend some money, I earn some points, and then when I check out again, I can redeem those points for some dollars. That doesn't differentiate yourself from the hundreds and hundreds of other loyalty programs running across ANZ. So they called out the fact that this new loyalty hub, will house a mix of evergreen and seasonal aspirational and educational content, more than 30 free barbecue courses, paid masterclasses, member-only offers, and the opportunity to engage online with other barbecue aficionados. So the whole goal here is to create a community around barbecuing, around the outdoors, and around Barbecues Galore. Very smart. Now, Mike Ainsworth, Barbecues Galore General Manager of Marketing and Customer, said, "We're throwing out the rulebook for your typical loyalty club with the mentality of spend and save. Instead, we're pursuing customer relationships at its finest, beyond the transaction, offering unparalleled, unrivaled access to content, information, advice delivered by the experts connected around a community of like-minded fans." Now, there's a whole lot of other announcements around this, but if we were to boil it down to its most simplistic components, they're moving to a place where the tangible benefits that a customer of Barbecues Galore gets by being a customer, by being a member of the loyalty program, goes way, way, way beyond just these standard discounts or free shipping, etc. And it makes them feel like they're part of the organization, makes them feel like they're part of an exclusive club where they can get access to things that no one else outside of the loyalty program can get. And in fact, Angus McDonald, as I said, who's the CEO, said the announcement of the Legends Club materializes our customer-obsessed ambition by setting a new benchmark for customer engagement within the home and outdoor retail industry and delivering something unique in the field. So congratulations, Barbecues Galore. Obviously, we're going to see how this plays out over the next 12 to 18 months, but good on you also for keeping yourself in the free media space. I've seen Barbecues Galore have articles about them in Inside Retail over the last sort of 6, 8, 12 weeks. And that's free. That's free advertising for their brand. They're launching new programs. They're launching new ways to engage with them and with their customers. And that is allowing them to stay relevant and current inside the media landscape around e-commerce. And it's a whole bunch of free advertising for them. So very, very well done of staying current, staying relevant, and making sure that you're in front of your customer or your potential customers at all times. Great effort. Well done. Next piece of news is that the gift card retail Prezi is looking to go public. And again, this comes from Inside Retail, and it says the digital gift card provider Prezi is mulling afloat on the Australian Securities Exchange, or the ASX, and is looking at funding options in light of Square's impending $39 million Afterpay acquisition. It's 39 billion, not million. So very interesting to see how this is going to go. Chief Executive Tony Karp said that while the business is cash positive, extra funding can be funneled towards accelerating its growth prospects, including growing beyond its current markets of Australia, the US, and UK, and upcoming launches in Germany and France. Recent corporate activity included this involving Afterpay has obviously got the attention of the board of the business, and our growth plans can be broadened to include Asia, China, and a public company model with my assist that will assist those outcomes. So very, very interesting. I've seen many retailers that have included Prezi in their plans, in their integrations, in the way that they redeem, that they sell Prezi gift cards. They redeem Prezi gift cards. Prezi has a full-blown, well-documented API layer that can help manage both physical and virtual gift cards. And it's sort of like Q Card and various other custom integrations of custom credit and custom gift card experiences in e-commerce. And it's going to be very, very interesting. I actually don't understand why they're comparing themselves to Afterpay. I don't understand why they're even mentioning themselves in the same sentence as Afterpay. They've actually got nothing to do with Afterpay. They're much more of a gifting, gift card type of platform. They've got nothing to do with buy now, pay later. I guess from what I can tell, what they're calling out is that because Afterpay has been acquired for such a massive amount of money, that what they're saying is that they expect that investors will be wanting to invest in their business, will be wanting to buy into them when they go public, and that they will potentially, I guess, be oversubscribed. So trying to boost up the value of their business by tailing on to this news about Afterpay. But I don't see the correlation. I don't see the causation. I don't see the linking between the two. But hey, good on you, Prezi. And if you go public, I wish you all the best. Now, next piece of news. Microsoft is about to shut down their LinkedIn presence in China. Again, comes out of inside retail, but this time out of inside retail Asia. And they're pulling the plug on LinkedIn in China nearly 7 years after its launch and replace it with a stripped down version of the platform that will focus only on jobs. So effectively LinkedIn jobs for China. LinkedIn is the only major US-owned social network operating in the country today, where the government requires social media platforms to follow strict rules and regulations. So basically, obviously, Zucks and the other major platforms have told China to get stuffed in terms of their ability to access user data, whereas LinkedIn and Microsoft up till now have effectively capitulated to China and all of their demands around censorship, around access to user data, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So now Microsoft is looking to follow other social media platforms by locking down the platform and exposing only the jobs function within China. Obviously, don't know how long this will last, but Microsoft has called out California-based LinkedIn, bought by Microsoft in 2016, has become hugely popular globally with employees, employers, and job seekers, as social media-like features make it easier for them to connect with one another while building their professional network. Social media-like features? No, it is a social media platform. LinkedIn would like to call itself, a networking platform. I don't actually know what the difference between a networking and a social media platform is, but for those of us that use the platform literally every single day, I'm on LinkedIn. It is the number one app on my iPhone that gets the most airtime, that gets the most screen time on my iPhone week in, week out. I publish every single piece of content that I produce to the platform. And so those of us that treat it as a social media platform and treat it as a media platform certainly wouldn't consider it just a business networking platform. We treat it as much, much more serious than that. So good luck to Microsoft in China. It's going to be remains to be seen how they're going to cut off their members and their users in China outside of the jobs function. I guess basically, tough luck. And I guess what that means is that the Chinese users of LinkedIn will continue to have to migrate and move to VPN platforms to be able to access LinkedIn internationally and access LinkedIn.com outside of China. They'll just simply have to use a VPN to be able to access the native platform outside of China. Now, next piece of news, PayPal rival SumUp makes a $317 million. So, $1/3 of $1 billion, nothing to sneeze at, acquisition to take on competitors And this comes from Charged Retail. SumUp has acquired marketing startup 5 Stars as part of a push to take on its rival PayPal and Square. The UK-based payment processor said it was purchasing 5 Stars for $317 million in a mix of cash and stock. Interestingly, I've never personally heard of 5 Stars before, which is quite amazing considering the fact that they're spending $317 million on 5 Stars, and I've never even heard of the 5 Stars platform, but good on them. The marketing company helps online merchants apparently to set up reward schemes and promotions for customers. The new deal gives SumUp access to 5 Stars, 12,000 customers, and $3 billion in sales per year, in revenue per year. So obviously they're pretty big considering they're doing $3 billion a year in revenue. Big business. Apparently SumUp was founded in 2012, best known for mobile credit card readers used by SMEs to accept payments. So basically terminal services. So very, very interesting to see SumUp try to take on PayPal. PayPal is a multi-billion-dollar business internationally, and I don't think PayPal is overly concerned about SumUp's charge against them, but time will tell. Amazon reportedly copied third-party sellers' products and rigged search results, and U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren urges Amazon breakup. Indian retailers want probe after Reuters story. So I don't know if you've heard about this, but Amazon for years has actually been accused of copying and effectively ripping off retailers' products on its platform. And now it's been caught out in India, not only ripping off resellers and retailers' products, but rigging the search results to promote its products above everyone else's. Again, U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren in the United States is urging Amazon to be broken up. I just can't see this happening anytime soon. But if it happens, the spinning out of AWS and all of its other components are probably going to fetch more money than Amazon being one monolithic business, but time will tell. So the Reuters report reviewed thousands of internal Amazon documents that were leaked apparently by effectively a leaker inside the business or a whistleblower inside the business. And those documents found that the U.S. company ran a systematic campaign of creating knockoff products, manipulating search results, and boosted its own private brands within India. Doesn't say anything about the United States, but this is specifically within India. And one of the company's largest growth markets is India. So obviously manipulating the search results in India would result in billions of dollars additional revenue for the company. Wednesday's report showed that at least in India, manipulating search results to favor its own products, it copied other sellers' goods, and it was part of a formal strategy at Amazon, and that at least 2 senior executives had reviewed this strategy and had approved it internally. Now, what's interesting about this is that this follows a September 2019 stoush with Allbirds. Now, Allbirds is a shoe manufacturer, originally Kiwi founded, now an international business. And Allbirds called out the ripoff of their products, and they responded to Amazon with an open letter titled "Allbirds to Amazon: Don't steal our design, steal our sustainable business practices." And this was originally announced by Fast Company at the time in 2019. And Amazon at the time, it was called out by Allbirds that they're notorious for brazenly making cheap knockoffs or lookalikes of popular products on the marketplace, and they've copied products from Warby Parker, Instant Pot, and other retailers, including Allbirds. And it says the retail giant's latest target is Allbirds, the 3-year-old shoe company that has made sustainability the cornerstone of its growth sneaker empire. And again, this goes back to 2019, so we're now several years later. And at that time, Amazon's in-house shoe brand 206 Collective launched a shoe called the Galen, a wool blend sneaker with a foam sole that looks remarkably close to the Allbirds flagship product, the Wool Runner. Now, having said that, and having talked about this back in the time, I can tell you as a proud owner of the Allbirds Wool Runner, I would never, ever buy the rip-off Amazon product, because I can just tell you from firsthand experience, the Wool Runner by Allbirds is an outstanding product. It feels amazing. It wears amazing. It is absolutely just it's actually the best sneaker I've ever owned. So amazing product, and Amazon has ripped off that product historically, and now apparently they're ripping off more and more products and selling them in India and preferentially listing their products in the search results. So let's just see how this plays out. I just can't see Elizabeth Warren being successful in this breakup or this intended breakup of Amazon, but it's just another chink in the armor of Amazon and another area where Amazon is going to have to defend itself, both before Congress, before the Senate, and before the consumer. So let's just see how this plays out. Now we're coming to the end of our time together, but I did want to call out some other news that I think will be interesting to you. We dropped yesterday our 100th episode of the At the Coalface podcast, and it's one of my most proud episodes. I'm super stoked to be at episode 100. Apparently, most podcasts in the world never make it past episode 50, so we're at double that. I'm super proud of all of the people and the companies and the brands and the businesses that I've featured on the podcast. I'm super thankful to them. And our latest episode 100, is talking PLM tech and sustainable fashion supply chains with Oliver Rhodes, my good friend over at Supply Compass. I became friends with Oliver and got to know Oliver when he was still at PeopleVox, the WMS platform out of the UK. And it was such an amazing conversation that I got to have with him. I didn't understand what was involved in sustainable supply chains for retail, particularly around fashion. I learned a lot. I hopefully asked some questions that will be interesting to you guys. I helped him understand a little bit more about the PLM landscape, or the product lifecycle management platform landscape, particularly across ANZ. He helped me understand sustainability, and we had an amazing conversation for around an hour. So go and check that out. Episode 100 at the Coalface podcast, talking PLM tech and sustainable fashion supply. Now, next piece of personal news for me, there's two pieces of news that I'll share with you. I'm going to be speaking at the B2B e-commerce show online conference, which is run by Ceridium Intelligence, and it's happening Tuesday the 26th and Wednesday the 27th of October. And I have a link for free passes to the event, which I will drop in the comments of this live post and this live stream. I will drop the bit.ly link in there. You can click that. You'll be taken to the registration form, and you'll be able to get access to the full 2-day live streams for free. Go ahead and sign up, and I will look forward to seeing you there. I'm going to have a keynote. I'm also going to be taking place in a couple of live panels, and there's also going to be a Q&A both after the panels and after my live keynote. I will be having a Q&A session about everything that I'm talking about. Now, what I love about this conference is this talking about B2B e-commerce specifically, which is an area of passion and expertise of mine, and I cannot wait to see you guys there. Again, I'll drop the bit.ly link in the comments. You can sign up for free, and you can attend, drop in, drop out over the 26th and 27th of October. Now, I'm also taking place, if you register for the Cloud Zone 1 e-tail retail webinar with me, featuring me. This is happening on Tuesday, the 19th of October at 10 a.m. New Zealand time. And what I'm going to be covering at this particular online conference, or this online webinar, is a few things. One is, how can you prepare your customer and product data for e-commerce and omnichannel use? 2, what types of systems integration, and other components should be considered when you're embarking on an e-commerce implementation project? 3, how and when to implement an ERP system. Now, again, I have a special link. I'll drop it. It's a bit.ly link. I'll drop it in the comments, and you'll be able to register for free for this e-tail retail webinar with me, featuring me. I'm going to be talking about lots of things in regards to e-tail and retail. I'll be answering your questions in real time, Tuesday, the 19th of October, and I'll pop both of those links in the comments of this live session. And I cannot wait to see you guys there. Please sign up to both of those. It's going to be a fabulous time. And I just can't wait to interact with you guys. I know it's not the same as physical in-person events. It guts me that I can't be with you guys in person, but virtual is the next best thing. And hopefully you guys will get a lot out of our sessions together. So thanks very much for joining me for the live today. Garen Belani, thank you very much. Jason, what's good? Cheers, brother. Thank you very much for joining the live stream with me today. And I appreciate all of your time. I realize I've run about 10 minutes over time today. I normally like to finish at about 4:30. It's about 4:38, nearly 4:40 p.m. So thank you very much for spending time with me today. I look forward to spending time with you next Friday at the Coalface Live, 4 p.m. New Zealand time as our start time. Put it in your calendars, and I can't wait to hang out with you soon, next week, Friday, as well as my content all throughout this week across all my social platforms. And see you live next week. Pop your comments, pop your questions into this live episode into the comments, and I'll make sure I cover those next week in the next live. Have a fabulous weekend. Thank you very much, guys, for your time. Catch you soon. Bye-bye.